Can you teach me to dance? The small voice came from the wheelchair by the window, so soft that Lily Ashford almost missed it. The little girl, barely 4 years old, looked up at her with eyes that held too much sadness for someone so young. Her hands rested on a warm music box that played a melody too faint to hear. Lily knelt down slowly, her heart already breaking. "Sweetheart, I don't know if—" "Mommy used to dance," the girl whispered, "before the accident, before I couldn't move my legs anymore. She said dancing makes everything feel lighter. I want to feel light again." From the doorway, a man stood frozen. Marcus Donnelly, 34, CEO of a tech company, and a father who hadn't smiled in 2 years. He watched this new nanny, the 7th in 6 months, kneel beside his daughter Sophie, and something in his chest tightened. "Yes," Lily said softly, surprising herself. "Yes, I can teach you to dance." It had been 2 years since the accident, Sophie's 4th birthday. Marcus's wife, Elena, had been driving to pick up the birthday cake when a truck ran a red light. Elena died on impact. Sophie survived, but lost the use of her legs, paralyzed from the waist down on the day she was supposed to blow out candles and make wishes. Marcus had tried everything: physical therapy, specialists, experimental treatments. Nothing changed. And slowly, Sophie stopped asking questions, stopped hoping. She just sat by the window with Elena's old music box, watching a world she could no longer fully join. The nannies couldn't handle it. Not Sophie's condition, but the grief that filled the house like fog. Marcus barely spoke anymore. He worked 18-hour days, came home exhausted, kissed Sophie goodnight with mechanical precision, and disappeared into his office. He had forgotten how to be present, how to be anything except numb. Lily Ashford was 25, broke, and still grieving her own losses. Her parents had died in a house fire 3 years ago, leaving her with nothing except student debt and memories. She'd studied art and dance in college, her mother's passions, but had dropped out to work when the money ran dry. She'd been a waitress, a store clerk, a dog walker, anything to survive. The nanny position was a last resort. Good pay, live-in arrangement. But when the agency told her about Sophie's condition, about Marcus's coldness, 5 other candidates had refused. Lily almost refused too, until they mentioned the little girl asked about dancing every day. Lily's mother had been a dancer, had taught Lily that dance wasn't about legs or movement. It was about feeling, about expression, about letting your soul speak when words failed. Dancing isn't just steps, Lily told Sophie that first week. It's about how you feel inside. Your arms can dance. Your hands can tell stories. Your heart can move even when your body can't. She brought scarves, silk, flowing, in colors that caught the light. And she played music, not children's songs, but real music, the kind Elena used to love. And slowly, carefully, she taught Sophie to move her arms like wings, to sway her upper body like wind through trees, and to let her hands express joy and sorrow and everything in between. Marcus watched from doorways, from the top of stairs, watched his daughter's face transform, watched her smile, really smile, for the first time since Elena died, and something inside him, something frozen and dead, began to crack. "Why are you doing this?" he asked Lily one evening, his voice rough with disuse. They were in the kitchen, Sophie asleep upstairs after an hour of dancing that had left her exhausted and happy. Lily looked at this broken man, and she understood. She'd seen that look in her own mirror after her parents died. "Because she asked," Lily said simply, "and because I know what it's like to lose everything and forget how to feel alive. Dance brought me back. Maybe it can bring her back too." "She can't actually dance," Marcus said, and his voice cracked. "She'll never walk again, never run, never do the things Elena dreamed she would do." "No," Lily agreed quietly, "she won't, but she can still move, still express, still feel beautiful and free even in that chair, unless you teach her that her wheelchair makes her less, that not walking means not living." Marcus flinched. "I never said—" You don't have to say it. She sees it in your eyes, the way you look at her like she's broken, the way you've stopped being her father and started being her caretaker. She's grieving her mother and her body, and she needs you to show her that she's still whole, still worthy of joy. The words hit like a physical blow. Marcus stood there, this powerful CEO who controlled boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, and realized he'd been failing at the only job that mattered. "I don't know how to do that," he whispered. "I look at her and all I see is what we lost. Elena's gone. Sophie's legs don't work. Everything is broken and I don't know how to fix it." "Maybe," Lily said gently, "you stop trying to fix it and start learning to live with it, to find joy despite it, to show Sophie that different doesn't mean destroyed." 3 months passed. Sophie bloomed under Lily's care. She created dances with her arms, performed for stuffed animals, choreographed routines to songs that made her feel strong. Her laughter returned, tentative at first, but then genuine. She started asking questions again, making jokes, being a child instead of a ghost. And Marcus slowly emerged from his grief. He started coming home earlier, started sitting with Sophie during her dance sessions, started remembering that he was a father, not just a man going through the motions. "Daddy, watch," Sophie called one evening, her arms sweeping through a routine Lily had taught her. "I'm dancing like Mommy used to." Marcus's throat closed, but instead of turning away, instead of retreating into his office, he sat down, watched. And when Sophie finished, he clapped, and his smile, his first real smile in 2 years, broke across his face like sunrise. Sophie gasped. "Daddy smiled! Lily, did you see? He smiled!" Lily's eyes filled with tears because she understood that this moment was what healing looked like. Not perfect, not complete, but real. "I saw, sweetheart. I saw." Later that night, after Sophie slept, Marcus found Lily in the living room, looking at old photos of her parents that she kept in her wallet. "You lost them," he said quietly. "It wasn't a question. 3 years ago, house fire. I was at college by the time I got there. She couldn't finish. My mom taught me to dance. Said it was how she survived hard things. When they died, I stopped dancing. Stopped everything. Forgot who I was. Until Sophie asked me that question, and I remembered why my mother loved it so much. It saves us, when nothing else can." Marcus sat beside her, and they shared the silence of two people who understood loss. "You saved my daughter," he said finally. "You reminded her she's allowed to be happy. And you," his voice broke, "you reminded me too." "You saved yourself," Lily corrected gently. "You chose to show up, to smile. That was you, Marcus, not me." 6 months later, Marcus did something Elena would have loved. He established the Elena Donnelly Foundation for Arts and Dance, a nonprofit providing free dance and art programs for children with disabilities. Sophie performed at the opening, her arms telling stories of loss and hope, of wheelchairs and wings, of daughters who danced even when the world said they couldn't. Lily ran the programs, teaching dozens of children that movement wasn't about walking, it was about expression, about joy, about refusing to let circumstances define capability. Marcus and Lily never married. Their bond was something different. Something built on shared grief and gradual healing, on showing up for a little girl who needed them both. They were family, not by romance, but by choice, by presence, by the quiet decision to keep trying even when everything hurt. "Can you teach me to dance?" Sophie had asked 2 years ago, her voice small and hopeless. Now, at 6 years old, she performed on stages, taught other children in wheelchairs that they could move beautifully, and reminded everyone who watched that dance was never about legs, it was about heart. "You taught me something," Marcus told Lily on the Foundation's 2nd anniversary, watching Sophie lead a class of children in wheelchair choreography.
that healing doesn't mean erasing what happened. It means learning to live fully despite it, to find joy in different forms. Sophie taught us both, Lily replied. She asked one question and changed everything. Reminded us that asking for what we need, even when it seems impossible, is the bravest thing we can do. Marcus smiled, and it came easily now. Elena would have loved you, would have loved seeing Sophie like this. I think she does see it, Lily said softly, and I think she's proud. Because in the end, dance isn't about the steps we take. It's about the courage to move at all, to reach for beauty when the world feels broken, to teach children that wheelchairs don't clip wings, and to remember that the first smile after years of darkness is just another kind of dance. Sophie's question had saved them all, and every child who learned to dance in their chair, who discovered that different was beautiful, who smiled despite everything, they were Sophie's legacy, Elena's memory, and proof that love moves in ways legs never could.